Welcome back, everybody. My name is Max Tim. This is ISA Insider News. And of course, as always, we have Shayna with us.
Hello, everybody.
I didn't let you introduce yourself this time.
I kind of like that because I was like, how am I going to do it this time? Like, I liked it. You just did it for me. Thank you very much.
I just keep going and ignore you. So today, the top headline, we're just going to, oh, Shayna's here.
Oh, yeah. I'll be like, oh, speaking of, tell me your news of the weekend.
I have like 2.5, 3 hours of sleep in me because when I came home last night, after enjoying a weekend of football, my dad's birthday weekend, which was nice, my window was basically a sieve for the rain that came through.
Oh,
and it was like 30 plus hours of rain that we got yesterday into today. We had like almost 7 inches of rain. And so it was like a faucet was on for about 14 plus hours, just coming down the front of my window. There wasn't anything I could do. It was 8:30 on a Sunday. Who am I going to call? So I just had to pile towels. And finally the rain stopped. And so I have to get somebody out here. I think what happened was a giant bird, and there's an imprint on my window, which is kind of morbidly comical, of a bird just flying and crashing into, there's the big black imprint. And I think it hit so hard that it jumbled the window frame.
Man, something's going on because this morning I noticed on my wedding ring, the diamond is gone. Just
oh God,
gone right out of the prongs. So that's fun.
No. That's worse.
I mean, not really. It is what it is. The whole ring's not missing. It's like one, you know what I mean? It's like, I can't really, it's a big bummer, but I don't know.
Oh God.
Hopefully I'll find it. I don't know.
Yeah, when you're vacuuming, just be careful. Make sure you're looking.
I know. Molly from ISA told me to check the cat's poop. So
I was thinking that.
That's going to be fun. Good times.
It's no way you're going through the cat's poop, man.
I'm really not.
I will
eat it.
How do we
not the poop? I'll just
God, anyway. I'm trying to get away from cat's poop and segue into the Toronto Film Festival.
To the cat's meow, right?
There we go.
Toronto Film Festival. All right. So going on right now is the 47th annual Toronto Film Festival, which is very exciting and fun. If you're not aware of the Toronto Film Festival, you should be, because it's quite possibly maybe cooler than Sundance. I mean, to me, it's just like amazing. I cannot wait to go to Toronto Film Festival. And also we're talking about the Disney Expo. And
the D23, the Expo, which for Disneyites, if that's what they call themselves, I don't know if that's what they call it, huge deal. But for general entertainment fans, hearing what Disney's coming out with, because of all of their different brands, they have a ridiculous amount of brands. And if you go into this article, you can see all the projects that are releasing between now and like next year, June or something. And it's extensive. Really excited. I'm sure we've all heard of Indiana Jones 5. I'm really excited about Disenchanted. I'm curious to see what they're going to do with Amy Adams and
Patrick
Dempsey. Yeah.
Okay, here's my only caveat to Disenchanted. It is not written by the writer who wrote Enchanted. And we've talked to him on ISA webinar in the past few years. And so that's my only thing, is that they didn't include the original writer. And that kind of bums me out.
That's too bad. I didn't know that.
So I will say that.
I can't imagine.
But it does look very fun. It looks very fun.
Oh, I haven't seen the trailer yet.
I'm excited to. Oh, well, you need to watch the trailer.
Okay. Yeah, I need to watch the trailer. Yeah, I mean, it's also suburbs.
They also released the trailer for Hocus Pocus 2.
Yeah.
Which I'm going to be Mary Sanderson for Halloween. The one with the floopy thing. So that day is actually Halloween. If we record, you're just going to have to see it, because I have to do trunk or treat at school and then do this and then go for Halloween. So I'm not changing my hair. So I might be in costume.
I'm going to have to put a costume on. I don't know what I'm going to do.
The other things at D23, they talked about Indiana Jones 5, Disenchanted, the new Black Panther. They revealed the new Little Mermaid live action movie, which looks really fun. They talked about Wish, which is a new film with Ariana DeBose. And then they also announced that Christian Slater is joining the cast of the remake of Willow.
Yeah, I watched the trailer last night of Willow. It looks pretty epic. It's cool. I like that they're keeping it light and they're not going too dark or anything. It
Yeah,
looks good.
for
To
sure.
talk about Toronto just a little bit, I think that one of the
Mhm.
reasons we're reporting on this, so-called, is so that all of the writers who are in our midst that watch our show are staying up to date. It's even if you're not big into the awards season, it really isn't about which project's going to win the award. This is about staying up to date about the new voices, or continued voices, the continued success from people. We have a lot of A-list stars that are trying to promote their careers by going to this festival, by promoting the projects they're in. And then, of course, all of the brands and companies that are also trying to say, hey, look at us, look at us. And so it's easy for, I guess you could say, people who are outsiders of the industry to say, oh, look at these people just kind of being flashy and stuff. This is very much business. This is how our business works. And like we've noted in our little notes here, like you were saying, Shayna, there's something about a number of Best Oscar winners having first premiered at Toronto.
Premiered or screened at Toronto, maybe
Yeah.
not necessarily premiered. I mean, it says in this article that Oscar hopefuls have been omnipresent at the Toronto International Film Festival for more than 40 years, with Chariots of Fire from 1981, American Beauty from 1999, Green Book for 2018 had their world premieres at TIFF and went on to win Best Picture. And of the last 10 Best Picture winners, only 2 did not screen at TIFF. They must have their pulse on the winners.
They do. I think all the buyers go there too. I think it's turned into a huge premiere for the film industry, and that's part of our good news of the week, which, well, we won't quite go to that section just yet, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit.
Right.
So it's not necessarily about, oh, the glitz and glam of the Oscars or even the Venice Film Festival or Cannes or something, but it's following along with what's happening in our industry, which I think is really important.
Yeah, and I think that, we can look at something like that where we're seeing the pictures, the press of celebrities and filmmakers and things. It's just in the hierarchy of filmmaking of film festivals, it's the same minutia as when you're going to a film festival that's maybe not at that level, but it's the same thing. These filmmakers are going there, networking, making connections, finding producers and distributors and whoever to make their next project, getting their face out there, getting their name out there, getting some recognition perhaps. But it's all the same game. It's just different levels. So I think it's important to sort of watch, because you could reverse engineer and look at somebody like Damien Chazelle, who is promoting his film at TIFF, and go backwards and see where he was when he began. And you can do that.
It's just that easy.
It is. It's just that easy. Just take
there is a
steps.
track though, and I think that's what's a breath of fresh air. All right, well, that's our top headlines, plural, maybe you could say, or for the week. But let's move on to what we have next.
I say Insider. Okay, so we pulled a couple of articles from our ISA Insider page. Check it out on the ISA website. The first one is called The Beauty of What's Left Unsaid. And this is an article that is all about subtext. And if you are a writer, you should know how important subtext is. So first, Max, what is subtext?
And I talk to my writers about this a lot. And it's a tricky thing to write. It's not tricky to understand, because we're understanding it all the time when we're watching shows or movies. We're as just basic, passive audience members. But subtext is basically saying something that you want to say without saying it. I mean, that's a really dumbed down version of saying it. I think Diane Drake, who's the author of this article, she's awesome, by the way, and she's a consultant. You can find her and work with her. The definition of it is subtext is any content of a creative work which is not announced explicitly by the characters, but is implicit or becomes something understood by the observer of the work as the production unfolds. Way more words than you need. This is basically, don't just tell us something, show us, and then fill in some of the little reference of gaps by either action by the character or dialogue that isn't speaking directly to what you're trying to say, I think is the easiest.
Right. It's instead of saying, Jerry, I'm really sad about this, it's showing us that they're sad, or it's talking about something completely different that makes no reference to being sad, but shows sadness.
Yeah.
One of my favorite examples is in the movie the breakup with Jennifer Aniston and what's his
Vaughn.
name? Vince Vaughn. They're talking about doing the dishes. And she's like, they're having conflict in their relationship. So instead of talking about, we have conflict in our relationship and you're not doing what I want you to do and I'm not doing what you want to do, she's talking about, I want you to want to do the dishes. And he's like, why would I want to do the dishes? And she's like, and it's funny, but you understand that what it's showing is this conflict between them, that they're just not on the same page.
Well, I'm gonna go do the dishes.
Cool. It's asking the question, what is the scene actually about? What are you actually trying to present to the audience as a message? And I think Aaron Sorkin is really good at this. I just covered this in my writing groups with my writers, and we looked at a scene in Steve Jobs where Jeff Daniels and Michael Fassbender, Steve Jobs, they're in a long hallway, and it's this long argument that they have some flashbacks to when Steve was let go and said the board doesn't want you on the Mac or Apple anymore. And it was this long, huge argument. The acting was incredible. But what they were actually talking about was control and the lack thereof. And there's only one line at the very, very beginning of the scene that Jeff Daniels has a reference to: a newborn baby doesn't have control. He said it like at the start of the scene. The rest of the scene there's no reference in terms of dialogue to control. And so you got to be studying these scenes. I think her example in the article about Bob Newhart's comedy, if you don't know who Bob Newhart is, this guy is so wonderful, and his stand-up routines are amazing. Of course, he had the Bob Newhart show in the 80s, but he has this bit about a security guard calling his boss on the first day on the job, but that first day was when King Kong climbed his building, the Chrysler building. And so it's a one-sided conversation. We don't hear his boss's side of the conversation. And so everything Bob Newhart is saying is meaning we are assuming what his boss is saying and assuming what's happening with the King Kong, and it's we want to study subtext. It's Bob Newhart's comedy, but fantastic article. Highly recommend reading Diane Drake's article.
And then the other one we're going to just touch on, but it's an interesting article to get some insight into management and what managers are looking for or not looking for. This one is an interview with Jeff Belkin from Zero Gravity Entertainment. And it's called I Wanted to Be the Manager I Never Had. So great title, one great title, pulls you right in. But basically, it's sort of interview style article where he's answering questions about what he's looking for, what he's not looking for. And it's always just good to read firsthand what different managers, representatives, anyone like that is saying, because you might be surprised about their answers. And I liked this article because I was actually surprised a couple times by his answers of like, oh, it's more for him about he doesn't read a script and know within 5 pages if he wants to work with that person. It's more like he'll know that he doesn't. So if he keeps reading, he's into it. If he stops, that's where he's like, yeah, no. So it's just like interesting stuff like that to change your viewpoint, change your perspective, have a little bit of insider knowledge. And those are always up in our articles, and we're always showcasing those interviews. So check that out.
It's a great interview, and the questions that are being asked are questions that you watchers and viewers and listeners tend to ask managers. What turns you off in terms of potential current client? What are common misconceptions writers have about managers? What does your ideal client or manager relationship look like? So they're very common questions, and of course he's answering them as best he can. But those, like you said, Shayna, those are the articles that we share on ISA Insider that shines a little light on things.
So check it out on our ISA Insider page.
All right, cool. So what are we watching?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty basic. I've just watched the new Lord of the Rings episode, and I watched House of the Dragon.
Both episodes were fantastic.
Yes, I was very, very entertained by both.
At Lord of the Rings, I was like tearing up, and then there were some I was, for Tolkien geeks, oh man, it was just it was so good. That last scene in that episode where they technically show Sauron, and I'm like, hold up, this is not what you expect. And so that was awesome. So many things. And then a lot of comments about House of the Dragon that obviously I don't want to spoil anything, It made me very, very physically uncomfortable.
Totally.
I also had a little bit of a potentially terrible comment about, I can't say anything because I'll spoil it, but I was surprised by the act that she took after. And then she had the thing, I'm trying to, because Shayna knows what I'm talking about, with her night. And then there was one part where I was like, hold on, she's never done this before. She doesn't look like she's never done this before. But nonetheless.
Well, I mean, let's just say this. I think that maybe you've watched too many movies about the first time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's inherently a confident person, so it's like, I mean, whatever. It's not enough for me to be like, thumbs down, but you know.
I don't think it always has to be some like traumatic, big, huge moment. I think it can just be.
You're right. You're right.
The more you know.
And the more. Talk about subtext.
This feels like an after-school special. Like we're like, well, listen.
Yeah, yeah, with a lot of subtext, where hopefully you can read between the lines.
Yes. Speaking of, I also watched.
But you watched Chef's Table. I've not seen this.
I did. Okay, so this is my backstory. My husband bought me an outdoor pizza oven for my birthday. So we've been making pizzas outside, and now I'm obsessed with being the perfect pizza maker. And so there's a new season of Chef's Table on Netflix, and it's all about pizza. So I was watching those and getting very hungry this weekend.
Felicity Wren, who was the director of development with the ISA, she and I were roommates for 5+ years, and she watched those cooking shows. I mean, it was just on in the background 12 hours a day, other than when she was watching like BritBox mysteries or Hallmark Christmas movies, which I still can't believe but anyway, after a while I was like, I don't know why anyone gets anything out of these. I mean, I'm a completely different audience member. I don't cook. I have no real interest in getting into it. But after a while, it was just more like torture. Like, I'm never going to eat that. And I'm seeing them making it and eating it. And, you know, but then I suppose there's an inspiration part behind it.
Yeah, it's like learning little things. I mean, if you don't cook, then yeah, there's no point of watching that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of on the same page though, as far as I didn't really watch anything new. It's my regular Resident Alien, Lord of the Rings, House of the Dragon. I watched a ton of football this weekend, which was on Saturday very depressing, on Sunday very fun because of who I root for it. But it's
weird. My reaction to you watching football.
Subtext.
I'm not a football watching fan. I will go to a game, but I do not want to watch on TV. You know what it is for me? In a past relationship, he would always watch football, and it would be that whistle, the referee's whistle, and like the noise in the background all day long. And it was like Thursday night and Saturday and Sunday and then Monday. And I was like, I'm gonna explode.
Yeah, I used to be diehard. It's more of just kind of fun. I don't take it as seriously as I used to, but it's something that I like doing with my dad. My dad and I, you know, it's different when you've got, you know, a little history there, but
I'll watch pizza shows and you watch football.
There you go.
It's great.
Yeah. Although you probably don't scream at the TV when you're watching pizza shows.
You'd be surprised.
All right. Well, let's skip right over to our final segment of the week. Good news of the week. We highly suggest that you read this. It's much longer than the usual good news of the week that we tend to share, but the article is from the Hollywood Reporter very recently. Summer box office soared, but now what? So it's all about how, in a very optimistic way, the Hollywood Reporter is talking about how the film industry in general, the movie-going industry, is actually doing very well considering how terrible this has been. Like, there was one executive who said, we just went through one of the most devastating periods in our history. I've been in this business for 42 years, and the fact that so many cinemas have stood tall is amazing. So there's room for hope.
There's room for hope. There is hope to be had.
The fact that there's an increase from 2021 over the summer of 93.2%. Granted, last year's summer, people just weren't really able to go out. Theaters were closed down. It's kind of a, you know, you can argue some of those numbers, but still, to have a $3.4 billion summer is pretty good. 1 point some odd billion of it was Top Gun.
Yeah.
But it's coming back, and they're trying to figure things out. Like, okay, what do we do go from here as far as day and date, the windows as far as when movies are going to be released? It's pretty clear that everybody's still just trying to figure this out. But I think it should give hope for writers watching right now, that movies are getting made, streamers are making shows. This industry is not going to die. It's just impossible. It's going to come up and level out. And, we haven't quite hit the recession that was expected, even though it's not good. I think that means we're going to be coming back up by this time next year.
If you haven't seen a movie in a movie theater in a while, go back and try it out, because it is different. It is a different experience. You can't be on your phone. You can't get up and go do this or that. I mean, you can go to the bathroom, but you know what I mean? Like you're focused on the film.
Yeah.
It's huge. The sound is wonderful. The ambiance is there. You got your popcorn, you got your darkness, you got your cushy seat. What's not to love? So get back in the theater.
Well, that's our good news of the week. Things are looking up, and we're moving into the fall, eventually the winter, and we've got a lot of fun shows coming up. So there's going to be plenty to watch and enjoy and entertain ourselves with in the coming weeks and months.
Yes.
Yeah.
We are we're here. We'll see you next week. Leave us some comments.
Right.
Leave us some questions. We're dying for some questions.
You can let
Ask
Shayna know.
Max about his skincare routine, whatever you feel like you want to ask.
Are we hitting subtext again here? Trying to say something?
No, it looks good. You look young.
I look a little rosy cheeked. Yeah, I was going to say everybody should tell Shayna what she should fix in her pizza oven.
Yeah. What are your favorite toppings?
There you go. Mine or in general?
Yeah. What are yours?
I'm basic. I'm, sausage, pepperoni, maybe an onion.
That's like the opposite of me too. I do not do onions, and I don't put sausage on. I like pepperoni. I like, what I really like? Okay, here's what I like. I either like cheese with prosciutto and then arugula on top after it's done, or it's crunchy. Don't cook the arugula. Or I like a basic pepperoni pizza with an egg in the middle.
What does the egg do other than just make it look?
I don't know, but when I was in Italy, you get an egg in the middle, and then you cut it. And when you take a piece, it's like it's so good.
Thing. Okay.
So good.
All right. Well, for everybody
That's
who's
what I'm
watching
aspiring
who
for.
follows astrology, Shayna and I are exact opposite sides of the astrology chart. So I'm not surprised to hear that we're exact opposite tastes. Yeah, well, spice of life, man.
That's why we go together. We go together like salt and pepper.
Like pepperoni and egg.
Yeah. Yum.
All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.